Hey guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life and welcome to the next prisoner review. In this video I am going to be taking a look at Prisoner Cell Block H, episode 14, Falling Apart. Now in this episode, this Lynn and Doug storyline that I've not really been a fan of comes to a devastating conclusion, and I just gotta say, I was feeling really bad for Lynn. Anything that could have gone wrong does go wrong. So Lynn, she acts as the getaway driver while Doug and his mate Bernie are in the factory doing this robbery. But then all of a sudden you hear gunshots and Doug comes running out. He knocks out another guard, he tells Lynn that his mate is dead, and then he jumps in the car and Lynn drives them both off. Next minute, Lynn has crashed the car. Now you don't actually get to see the crash on screen, you just see the immediate aftermath of the crash. Lynn is hurt and she crawls over to the other side of the car to check on Doug, who is in a pretty bad way. He tells Lynn to go before the cops arrive and it's all very dramatic. Lynn does end up leaving Doug. It's pretty much like Titanic all over again when Rose lets Jack go. She ends up ringing Dr. Miller for help, saying that she thinks the baby is coming. Oh God, could this get any worse? Dr. Miller does get to Lynn, but he finds her collapsed on the floor just as the police are arriving. Fast forward to hospital and we learn that Lynn has lost the baby and Doug is dead. This is absolutely heartbreaking for Lynn and it's really sad for us to watch. I really did feel sorry for her. The actress who plays Lynn is absolutely fantastic. Now when Dr. Miller is having a chat with Lynn, Lynn asks him if she's going to be going back to prison and Dr. Miller is pretty much like, yeah, I suppose you are. Lynn then says maybe that's where she belongs, and I'm just like, oh God, we all knew this was coming. The writers didn't want to let go of Lynn's character after the Bentley storyline. They wanted her back in Wentworth to get some more stories out of her. I do like Lynn's character, so I am happy that she's going to be sticking around for a little while yet. It will be interesting to see her back in Wentworth, as this time around she is not innocent of this particular crime. We carried on following Doreen and Frankie on the run on the outside, and they end up stealing some clothes off someone's, washing line. They then go to a cafe to get some food. Now, they don't have any money, so they decide to order as much as they can and then they try to escape out the back and they nearly get caught by the owner, but Frankie manages to, basically knock him down to the floor and they both end up making a run for it. Now, there isn't very much more on Frankie and Doreen in this particular episode, apart from when they wake up, at the start of the episode looking very rough in this derelict house that they've broken into. But I did find the scene of them running away from the restaurant quite entertaining. New social worker Jean Vernon arrived in this episode and already I'm finding her a little bit annoying. She immediately became friendly with Meg Jackson when Meg came in to get Bill's things, and then she ended up having a session with Marilyn Mason after Jean had once watched one of Marilyn's Blue movies. Bit strange, but happy to roll with it. I mean, Jean seems really nice, but from memory, I'm sure she's going to end up getting on my nerves during her stint on Prisoner. Now, when Meg takes Jean back to her flat, Meg ends up reading a letter that's been left on the table from Marty. Now, do you remember him, guys? He hasn't been around for a while. He's apparently moved out, and I have been wondering where the hell has he disappeared to? I don't think we've seen him since around episode 5 or episode 6. Bear in mind we're now on episode 14. What happened there? Did the actor not want to go on playing Marty anymore, or did the writers just simply run out of ideas? All I know is that Marty is going to be getting a few different heads as the show goes on. Mum had a visit from granddaughter Judith Ann, but something wasn't quite right. Judith Ann, she was looking worried as if she had something on her mind, but Judith Ann, she didn't tell Mum what the issue was and she just left. Now I do love the bit where Mum, she turns around at Vera looking very angry, like she was about to smack her in the face, after Vera ended up making a crack against, Judith Ann. And I was like, yes Mum, go on, smack Vera in the face. I'm not violent in real life, just to better put that disclaimer there. Mum speaks to Jean, who then goes to visit Judith Ann, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit bored during this scene. Jean spends about 5 minutes trying to get Judy to open up, but she doesn't open up. I mean, I know what the issue is here. Judith Ann, she's pregnant, but we don't actually find that out in this particular episode. I forgot to mention how Lizzie has been doing since the last episode where she ended up collapsing. Well, Lizzie is okay. She's still in the hospital unit in the prison, and Dr. Miller, he basically tells Lizzie that there is a valve in her heart that has gotten a little bit stiff. And sometimes when she overdoes it, it can play up. Now, I absolutely love Lizzie. I really adore her. I can already see her turning into the Lizzie who we all end up falling in love with. If you remember in my last video, Erica ended up cancelling their contract with Eddie's electrical firm, and in this episode, Eddie ends up getting the sack when his boss finds out. Shock horror. But this does lead us on to an awesome scene when Eddie's boss goes into the prison rec room to grab some tools that had been left behind, and Bea and all of the girls, they're all there waiting for him, and I just love it. Bea and the women, they end up grabbing this guy and they threaten him, basically trying to force him to re-employ Eddie, and Vera ends up coming in and the women let him go. And to be honest, it makes no difference. Eddie is not going to be getting his job back, not after that stunt anyway, but I just love how Bea and the girls, they just don't care. They scared the crap out of this guy and I flipping love it. Never got on the wrong side of Bea Smith. This episode ended on a bit of a random moment when Karen Travis's mum, she comes in to visit her. Now, the impression that we get as the audience of Karen's mum is that she's a little bit of a snobby bitch. And even when Karen tries to tell her mum about what Wayne used to do to her, she just doesn't let Karen finish what she's saying. She keeps interrupting her. When Karen tells her mum that there are talks about her having a retrial, her mum literally almost has a heart attack. And she's like, what on earth could he bring up at a retrial? I mean, she's really horrible in these scenes to Karen. I mean, once again, what is it with the mums in Prisoner? By the very end of this episode, Karen's mum just calls her a murderess, and I suppose the writers, they were trying to show us in this little episode cliffhanger that if Karen's mum doesn't believe her, then why should anyone else? All in all, a good episode. There was a bit more going on with a good mix of storylines. My favourite moment in this episode has to be the moment where Bea and the girls threaten Eddie's boss in the rec room. I found it highly entertaining. My least favourite moment, or maybe least favourite scene in this episode, is the moment where Jean goes to talk to Judith, and it just went on for bloody ever. I don't know, I just found it very boring, and like I said earlier, I have a feeling that Jean Vernon, her character, is gonna start getting on my nerves pretty soon. So that's all of my thoughts on episode 14. Now let's hear some of yours. Let me know in the comments box below some of your favourite moments from this episode, and let me know if you really felt for Lynn. Okie dokie, well that is the end of this review video. I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for future updates, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye guys.